And then you want to get rid of that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to begin. So just send me any messages that you want to again, like last night. And I'll endeavour to look at them during, but probably I'll address them at the end, kind of like we did last night. So welcome to training number 2. This training begins with the practical side of things. So Nathan is going to be covering more of the back office, more logistics, as we mentioned, and I'm going to be talking about what are the practicalities of the business, what is the business, and how you do it, really, the basic training. So today, we're doing getting started. That's a very good place to begin. So getting started, the secret of getting ahead is getting started. I really like this quote because I think, quite often we can think and research, but actually we just need to get started. So I'm going to help with that because that can sometimes be quite daunting. So I'm going to go through the steps that if you were training somebody else or if you yourself were just starting, what the steps that you need to go through, really, just the basic steps. Okay, I don't know how to move the screen on. There we go. So what are the 6 keys to success at the start? First of all, as we discussed last night, we need to live the product. This is very, very important because if you're not living the product, you're not going to get passionate about the product, you're not going to have genuine belief in the product. And when it comes to the essential oils, this is absolutely vital. So when you're sharing the essential oils, people are really going to be able to tell whether you believe in them or not. And if you haven't had your own experiences and you're not using them frequently, then this passion is not going to come through. Okay, and the next part is you'll want to learn the basics of the products and the business. Now, this doesn't mean you have to know everything. Don't feel like you need to be an expert in essential oils. I still don't think I'm an expert in essential oils. I'm continually learning. But you do need to know some basics, and we're going to talk about what those basics are. And you can find a lot of this information just in the intro section of the resource books that I'll mention later on, or also from doTERRA University. So that's a really good online resource that's very basic and doesn't take too much time to look at. Now, when it comes to the basics of the business, by the end of this month, you'll have all of that as well. So you're on to a good start. Okay, so the next step is to sample a lot, and I mean a lot. This is really the key to the business. With the essential oils, as important as it is to get your own experience, it's really important to show others how amazing these oils are. And the only way you can really show somebody is by them having their own experience. And we will be talking about all the different ways you can sample in the sampling training. But just as for now, sampling is a major part of this business. And then, of course, you need to follow up with somebody because there's no point sampling if you don't follow up. And then this leads on to inviting them to come to a class. So those are the key aspects of the business, especially at the beginning. And the next thing is to attend trainings. So you're doing that. So online trainings, there'll be some live trainings that come up. doTERRA themselves put on probably about 3 trainings in London a year. So it's really worth trying to get to them. It's just lovely being all together as well with other people that are doing the business, and you pick up lots of different things from different people, and then also to hear people who are more experienced presenting. So that's really helpful. Now this one is something I'm going to spend a bit of time on in this presentation: personal development daily. Okay, this is so important. And at the beginning, I think I neglected this a little bit, but I've come to realize how essential this is. I mean, you are part of a team in doTERRA, which is wonderful. You have both sides. You're in charge of your own business, so you can be independent, you can create your own business, what you want it to look like, and at the same time you're part of a team. But the key point is investing in your own personal development. And we'll go back into that in a second. Okay. Oh, I missed the last bit. I'm not sure how to go back, so I'll just say, so the last section of that was to just commit and then keep going. Now that, I think, was one of the things I learned right at the very beginning, because I had quite a few insecurities, self-doubts, and there were many times I would come back, late one evening, feeling really tired, a bit, down perhaps if I hadn't had any sign-ups at a class. And I remember Nathan just saying to me, look, if you keep going, this will be a successful business. He could see that. I often joke, he was on the sofa at the time watching a movie and obviously loving the fact that his wife was out working and telling me to keep going. But actually what he was saying was really true, and it stuck with me ever since. He's very much a businessman, and that's why he's going to be taking the business trainings about the money. But he saw money coming in from the very early stages, and he saw that it was all following the path that doTERRA had set, and that if I just kept going, my team would keep building, and it would eventually be very successful. And that's exactly what has happened. I've just kept going, and things have just built and built more than I could even imagine, and things are just falling perfectly into place, and it's great. And if that's the one bit of advice I could give anybody, is to just commit to it, believe in it, believe in the business. It's a really wonderful business with so much potential and opportunity, and if you stick with it, you will be successful at it, and you'll create the lifestyle that you want. Okay, so this is the success cycle at a glance. So first of all, you need to use, live, and create. You need to live the oils, basically. And as you're living the oils, you then get your passion, and you begin to create what you want to produce in your business. And then you start sharing. So that involves planning, sharing, and then inviting. And then you're on to the build section. That's when you're going to be starting to present your own classes, first of all with the help of your upline, and then you'll be doing them yourself. And then you're going to be enrolling people, and then the follow-up to help these new people on their journey. And then this will evolve naturally into leading, and you'll then be wanting to lead those builders that are under you. So that's kind of the business at a glance. So, paying a bit of attention to belief and personal development. So in life and in business, the one element that matters most is belief. Your business will only go as far as your belief. As your belief grows, you will naturally advance in doTERRA. Okay, I like this. I like the picture of the guy jumping off the cliff, because sometimes I think with anything you're creating in life, when you're stepping out of your comfort zone, you have to take that leap of faith, and you'll feel nerves, you'll feel a bit of anxiety perhaps, lacking confidence, and lacking self-belief. But really, that is the key. Once you get that self-belief, and that can go up and down on your doTERRA journey, so it's so important to maintain that daily personal development, or as often as you can. Then when you believe in yourself, and you believe in the oils, and you believe in the business, then you will become unstoppable, and you'll go for it, and everything will fall into place. So it's absolute key. So on this note, doTERRA recommend these two books. So when you're first starting with doTERRA, these are the two books they suggest reading first of all. Now you might have your own books in mind as well, or you might already be reading personal development books, and that's great. But these books are also very good, and I strongly recommend The Slight Edge, definitely at the very beginning. It's very inspirational, and its message is really kind of taking bite-sized pieces and doing the little habits every day, and then that evolves into something big, and it just helps you to see that whatever stage you are at in life, whatever self-doubts you might have, you can do this. And it's not just related to doTERRA either. So it helps you in all areas of your life, which is really good. And then the Go Pro is also a very good book. It's a lot more practical. So Eric Worre, for those of you that haven't heard of him, is a leading expert professional in the network marketing area. He's very, very successful. And he gives some really helpful practical tips for network marketing and how to get around any kind of fears or insecurities about that, but also the practicalities of how to find people and how to have an ever expanding contact pool. So things that are just really practical that I found very helpful as well. Okay, so daily, I'm going to do some daily, weekly and monthly habits. Now, some of the things I'm mentioning in this presentation are going to be aimed at the person that wants to really go for this business. Now, as you would have been explained, I'm sure, by your upline, there are various ways of doing this business. It's not an all or nothing business, which is why it appeals to so many people. You can really go at it at your own pace. So when I say these daily habits, just adjust it to your timescale, So when I started, I decided I was just going to go for it and go and do all the recommended things. And I did try to follow this. I didn't do it exactly, but I did try. So daily, of course, use the product. Use it daily, emotionally, physically, lemon in your water, peppermint when you first wake up, especially for mums that are up with children. Personal development, as I said, and just 10 pages if you can, Then make 2 new contacts a day. So that can sometimes be easier for others and harder for some. So I used to do that, as I said yesterday, with just my normal life. I incorporated it into my normal everyday activities, so it wasn't taking any extra time. And notice how it says make 2 new contacts, and it doesn't say sample 2 people every day. So that's quite key, because at the beginning I was like, oh, I don't know if I can sample 2 people a day. That's quite a lot, because at the beginning often you're building that relationship or you're sowing a seed. So the first time you speak to someone about the oils, you may not necessarily give them a sample, especially if you don't know them very well. And also with your friends, you don't want to be too pushy with it either. And you want it to come up naturally, often is what I try to do. And we'll talk about that in the sampling presentation. Also to try and follow up with 2 people you have sampled every day. So it's just kind of making everything a bit manageable. That's the idea of that. And so weekly, for someone that's going for it, present 1+ class a week or 5 one-on-ones. So some people really don't like to start with a class. I quite enjoyed doing classes at the beginning, but some people that's not their thing. So you could just do one-on-ones, go out for a cake and coffee and, talk about the oils then. Or a play date, that can be a one-on-one. It doesn't even need to be a scheduled thing. It could be a play date where you naturally start talking about the oils and it evolves from there. So weekly, that's what, if you're going for it, that's what you should aim for. And to also do some product training. So you can, I'll give you some resources later on in the presentation. But even your books, that's great to just read your books and just study what oils do. And there's endless amounts of information in there. And receive mentoring. So that's usually with your upline, and it's different advice really. They're usually further ahead along the business journey than you are, so they can give you some tips and advice, help answer any questions, and mainly to give you support. That's mainly what an upline is. It's not a manager, certainly not. It's a teammate, a partner, trying to help you succeed. Okay, so monthly. Something that's very important is you'll want to have at least 100 PV order in your back office. And this is when you're properly starting to do the business. So some people might start and not really be going for it with the business and just getting into the learning. But as soon as you start sharing and as soon as you're committed to the business, then that's when you want to be placing at least 100 PV. And that's on LRP, by the way. So it must be on LRP. If it's not on LRP, then you won't make any of the bonuses. So it's very important. Basically, when you get bonuses, the computers scan your system, and if you're not on LRP on the day they scan it, then you won't qualify for any bonuses. So that's really important. Now, so why have I put 150 PV? Well, this will come a lot clearer when Nathan does his compensation plan training. It just leads to a more solid structure, and you'll understand that a bit later. And attend any training events. So the step one is to get equipped. And why? Because you need to use the products, to live it, and then to share them. So a really good kit that I recommend is the Home Essentials kit, because it's not very expensive in terms of the other business kits you can get. There are a lot bigger kits that you can get. They're a lot more expensive, and you can ask whoever introduced you to doTERRA if you're still considering a kit. There's a lovely all business kit and an every oil kit, but I personally think this is fine to start with, especially if you haven't got lots of money to invest. Because with doTERRA, the great thing about the business is that you don't need to invest a lot of money to get started. It's not like some other businesses out there where you have to buy thousands of pounds worth of products. You really don't. And we actually recommend, people spend as less as possible really to begin with, because we want our builders to be earning money as quickly as possible and to find it a profitable business, at least self-sustaining within a few months, because then that, gives them more motivation and enthusiasm, and certainly keeps husbands happy. If you're a wife and you've got a husband, that kept my husband happy. So get a kit. And then there's just some basic business tools. So again, you don't need to go and buy every single business tool that you can find, because there are lots, but you just need the basics. So one of these books is fine to begin with. I started with the Modern Essentials book, which is more of a quick reference guide for the oils. Not as interesting to read, but it has all the basics information in that you would need, and which oils you dilute, all that kind of information. That's very helpful. Or you could get the Essential Life book, which I have recently purchased, and I love that book now. I think it's very colourful, it's very practical, it's got also some very easy to read information at the beginning of all the basics that you need to know, and it gives a quick reference guide, but you can also go into more detail into the elements. And it has recipes as well, so it's very practical. The little A to Z booklets, they're very important. Excuse me. So these A to Z guides, I use them mostly at the beginning of my business. I don't use them so much now, and I didn't use them to give out to people, because even though they're not that expensive, again, there's no need to give these out to people. I used it more as a sampling tool, so I'd carry it around in my handbag because it's nice and small. It's a very simple guide to show you what elements and what oils are linked to those elements. So it's very good for sampling people, but it's not enough to give someone that. And certainly if they've bought some oils, I wouldn't just give them that. That's not going to be enough to help them use their oils, because there's just not enough detail. So when I sell oils to people now, I always recommend they buy one of those books. Okay, and then the tear pads and bottles. We'll just go through these now. This is a really good site. If you don't know about it, go and visit essentoils.co.uk. It's the UK site, the biggest UK site for doTERRA tools. So have a look. They sell most things. If they are out of stock, then you just have to email them and they'll get back to you. So you can get sampling vials, which are very important to sample people with, and you can get 72 for about £12. So they're really not very expensive. And you can get these either from your back office, so just type vials into the search engine, or you can get them from Essent Oils. So they're great. And the 2 books I mentioned, same, you can get them from SN Toils, also from Amazon as well. And I think that's about the right price for the 2. Okay, so these A to Z guides, I spoke about them already. So a pack of 10 for £14. So not very expensive, but could become expensive if you start giving them out to everybody you sample. So there's no need to do that. I do often have a couple just at my classes so that people can have a flick through, especially if they come early. But that's it. I use them mostly for sampling. Now these I absolutely loved when I first started doing the business, because doing those first classes is quite daunting. And the first class, I certainly made notes for myself, but as I progressed, these were just perfect because it's just a summary, really, of what you're going to speak about in a class. So it's just really good to have in front of you to keep you on track. And I like to give this to the attendees in the class as well. Certainly at the beginning. I don't use them quite so much anymore because I can, sometimes I felt there may be a slight distraction to when I'm talking, but generally people do like them. But I mean, the main reason why I don't really use them now is because they're an added cost that I don't feel is that great a need at this stage in my business. But at the beginning, I think they are very, very good. And again, you can get these from SN Toils. I think they may be out of stock at the moment, but hopefully they'll come back in stock very soon. Okay, so I mentioned the 150 PV by the 15th of the month, and that will become a lot clearer why it's 150 as opposed to 100 when Nathan does his compensation plan training. And the reason you need to have this is to receive bonuses, as I mentioned. And also you want to do this by the 15th of the month because you're going to qualify then for the free product of the month. Which you get when you spend 125 PV or more. So PV is product volume, and Nathan will be talking about that as well in his training. So you just do this at your back office, which is mydoterra.com. Okay, so step 2 then is to learn. So you've got a quit, you've got your resources, you've got your oils, you've got a book at least, some sampling bottles ready to start sharing. But first of all, you want to learn a little bit. You want to know some basics. So it's very important to know that doTERRA does not prevent, treat, or cure. Okay, we have to be very careful what we say. Not as careful as people in America, but we still do need to be careful. And there's a really good resource actually on doterrauniversity.com, as it says down there. If you want to know about the compliancy that we should try and stick to, it's go there and click on the build section, and then under that it's on product claims. So if you go onto there, it's got so many different pages. It's talking about what you must, what you can and can't say if you're sharing on Facebook, on your website, if you're blogging, if you're in a class setting, if you're doing trainings. So all of this is all on there. So I really recommend you going to have a look at that. Don't try not to get too hung up about it because it is hard. I mean, things do slip out, especially when you've had a wonderful experience with asthma, say, and you just want to tell them. So it's definitely most important if you've got your own website. That's where you need to be really careful. But we do need to realise that doTERRA does not prevent, treat, or cure ailments. Lifestyle prevents disease. Doctors treat symptoms and fix broken parts, but it's the body that cures disease and heals itself. So that's actually our key to compliancy as well, because I often talk about the oils working with the body. So the body is made to heal itself, and the oils help the body to heal itself and cure itself from disease. I like the doTERRA wellness lifestyle because we're not saying that you just put on a drop of oil and everything is amazing, everything goes away. The oils are absolutely incredible, and I've seen many amazing things with the oils. But it's very important, as we're wellness advocates, is to encourage people to eat correctly and to do exercise and rest and manage stress and all these things. And then this is the key part that we are really so fortunate, I feel, to be part of, is the informed self-care. And this is one of the reasons I'm so passionate about doTERRA and just love it, is because there are so many people out there that have not any idea at all about how powerful essential oils are, and how when you've got 100% pure oil, they can produce miracles and they can help your body to heal itself from so many things. And I'm speaking from experience, because I did not have a clue at all. And so I'm really passionate about informing others, because I appreciate until you've got that choice, then you don't have a choice. Until you have that knowledge, you don't have a choice. You have to kind of go down the medical route or whatever route you know about. So that's where we are really a part of, is the informed self-care, but with all of the other aspects of the health as well. So what are the key things that you need to learn? We talked about learning. So the basics you really need to know to be able to start sharing and start teaching your own classes are these. So what is an essential oil? You need to know that. You want to know things like they're 50 to 70 times more powerful than natural herbs. It's the immune system of the plant, those kind of things. You also want to know, of course, the basics of CPTG. So you'll want to have a look up the sourcing. You want to really understand that every single essential oil is sourced from its natural habitat, and the significance of that. If you're talking about the immune system of a plant, it's going to be so much more powerful when it's in its own natural habitat. So you want to really understand that, and have a few oils that you know about, where they're from. So lemon from Sicily, lavender from France, frankincense, Somalia, and Oman. So just have a few of those that you feel confident about, spinning off your tongue, basically. And then you'll want to know the 5 basic tests that doTERRA do. Now, you don't need to know every single test in detail. You will want to know where you can find information of that. So doTERRA.com has it. Just very briefly there, though. The doTERRA Science blog has that information, just so you can refer other people to it if they want to know some more detail. Also, your resource books again. So the Modern Essentials and the Essential Life book go through these tests. So you want to be aware of that. You also want to be able to share that some of these tests are actually done third party, so they're not done in-house, because that's very significant, and that adds more credibility when you're talking about the certification of these oils. So you'll want to know a little bit about that as well. You'll also want to know the 3 ways to apply the oils. So aromatically, topically, and internally, and confidently be able to share about how you would do that. You'll need to know the health and safety. And you'll also want to know the dosage and frequency for both acute and chronic. So if you go to the doTERRA University under the Live tab, you'll find all of this information, and also in the resource books. Okay, so the frequency of the oils. Now this I found actually in the intro section of the Essential Life book. And it's interesting because this is something actually that I've come to learn over the last kind of few months, actually. So you are always learning. So for acute conditions, you use every 15 to 20 minutes until symptoms subside. Then you switch it to applying every 2 to 6 hours as needed. So mostly when I teach in classes, I'll say apply as and when needed, but really it's every 2 hours, because that's the time that an essential oil takes to go through your system, and then it's out of your system after 2 hours. But it's interesting with acute conditions, because I myself have found when I get sporadic back pain, I need to apply that deep blue about 6 times within a 3-hour period before that pain completely goes. So it's good to know these things, especially when you're sampling somebody, because if they say it didn't work, you can then find out why by asking how often they took it. And it could just simply be that. But for chronic or ongoing conditions, then you recommend 1 to 2 times per day, and typically morning and evening. So these are the basics for essential oil safety. It's important to not scare people, especially when you're sampling. Don't reel out a whole list of things that might happen with the oils, because they are very, very safe. They're very gentle and they really have very few side effects. Some people do have slight reactions if they're particularly sensitive. So it is important to say to people that, if you're someone that's usually sensitive to things, then just tread carefully and always recommend they take a smaller dose to begin with and then build up. The most important thing is to tell them not to put them in their eyes or inside their ears, so right inside. You can put it on the outside of the ear, that's fine for like an earache. I put it on the outside of the ear here or here, and even just in here, but not inside the ear, and not up your nose. Yeah. And if you do find that people do that, you'd tell them not to go rushing to the water tap and flushing it out with water, because that will make it a lot worse. So just to dilute it with a carrier oil. And then to be aware, as we've mentioned, that some people do have more sensitive skin than others, and especially children, of course, and babies. So when you're talking to someone who you're sampling for that, then you want to tell them to definitely test it on the bottom of their feet first. In fact, that's what I teach everybody to do, is to test it on the bottom of their feet to test their own sensitivity. And then different oils, as you'll find in your books. So here's a code here that I use in my PowerPoint presentations I do for the class. But you can find which oils are okay to take neat and which ones need to be diluted. Like oregano, for example. Never ever give that to someone without telling them to dilute it first. And you can find all this information in the resource books as well. Okay, so the 3 ways you can take the oils are aromatically, internally, and topically. So I'm not going to spend very long on this, because you've all probably been to an intro class now and know about this. But it's just important to have this in your own mind, and this is the knowledge that you need to have, really. So aromatically is a great way for mood, so uplifting. It's the quickest entrance to your limbic system. It's great for affecting others, and the diffuse is just a wonderful way of doing that. And I often mention On Guard. That's one of my favourite ones to diffuse, because it helps to kill and attack the viruses in the air. So it's good to use. So internally, that's the very exciting thing about doTERRA, is that we can actually offer this as a method of application. So that is one of the key things of doTERRA, and one of the key differences, because they are so pure. And you can do this simply 1 drop in some water. I just use it. If I'm taking oregano, for example, I try and get it over and done with. So I'll have a shot of water, so about this much water, with 1 drop of oregano. On Guard, I'll sometimes just put a drop on my finger and just put it in my mouth, so you can do it that way for the more milder oils. Some people don't like the taste at all of the oils, and that's fine. You can buy empty vegetable capsules actually from doTERRA and make up your own. Some oils like On Guard and Digestion come in their own capsules already, ready-made tabs, so that's really handy. You can put it under your tongue as well. That's a good way. Or frankincense, I like to actually put on the top of my mouth, because that's a very quick way to the brain as well. So internally, if you're explaining it to somebody else and just to understand it yourself, it just gives another option of taking the oils, another way. And for some people, I have found, including myself, for many things, it's just a lot more effective taking it internally. So it's really good to have that option available to us. And then topically. So the main thing with this is where the safety, I guess, comes in, is with the skin sensitivity. So as I mentioned, just always say to test it on the bottom of their feet first of all, and then dilute if needed. But it's really good because you can actually put the oil where you feel the pain. So if you want a systemic effect, then you put it on the bottom of your feet. But if you have a pain in a certain area, it's great that you can actually target that pain and put the oil on that actual area. And that's what's so wonderful. But test on the bottom of the feet first. And when they're first starting to use an oil, they could use it with a carrier oil. So here are some additional resources for you to have a look at. I really highly recommend Dr. Axe. He's a very well-known nutritionist and loves the oils, really loves the doTERRA essential oils in particular. And so he has a lot of information about the oils beyond and above that which you find in perhaps other resources. So it's a really good one to get. He has lots of free resources, but I did get the Dr. Axe Essential Oil Transformation that you can just type into Google. And it's really not very expensive, and it has some ebooks with some further information on all of the oils. And not just the physician kit oils, which is nice. So there's lots of information on there and research. You can also access the doTERRA Science blog, which has some good information as well. It's quite basic, but it's good. And then PubMed, if you're into scientific journals or know somebody that would like some, research, backed up research, then PubMed is very good for that. And there are lots and lots of tests on all the oils, especially, and I've done lots of research into the physician kit oils, and there are so many tests on each of those oils, the single oils, obviously. And if you want some research on the blends, then you just have to break down the oils. And then doTERRAuniversity.com, I've mentioned a couple of times during this presentation. It's pretty basic, but it teaches you the basics. So it's great and it's quick. You don't have to spend a lot of time looking at it, which I think we all appreciate. And then sharesuccess.com is probably the best resource we have available to us at the moment. It is American, so there are some things that aren't quite the same as over here, but it does give some good information about the business. So it's worth having a look at that and seeing if it's your style. Okay, so step 3 is to use and share and sample daily. So once you've got your resources, you've learnt the basics, then it's time to start using it first on yourself and then just start sharing with others. And in fact, don't wait too long to start sharing it, because at the very beginning, really you want to get as many experiences as you can. And that was actually my excuse at the beginning. When I was talking to my friends, I kind of said, I've just started doing this business. These essential oils seem amazing. I've had a couple of experiences, but I'd love to see how they work on so many other things. And obviously, your family, you and your family, and your small, close people too, are not going to have every ailment. So the more you can share, the more experiences you get. And that builds your confidence in the oils, builds your passion, and then just kind of feeds that momentum. So it's key. So this is for the going for it people. So if you are going for it in doTERRA and really want to just kick your business off to a great start, this is what I was challenged to do within a month. So I was challenged to share doTERRA with 40 people. I think I did about 30 people in the end. And the idea is with that is to just literally just get going. And the more people you sample, like I said, the more good experiences you have. Excuse me. The more people you can then invite to classes, and then the more potential you have to find somebody else that would like to do this business with you. And the sooner you find that person, the better, really. For 2 main reasons. It's lovely to have somebody to partner up with at the beginning and do classes with and bounce ideas off. But also, so when you start signing just users up or sharers, then you have someone you can place them under. And don't worry if that doesn't make sense right now. That will throughout the trainings. There'll be the trainings covered by Nathan. So just a quick summary then of what the business looks like after sampling. So you've bought your oils, you've learned about them, you started using them, and you started sampling them. So the next steps, which we're going to cover through the trainings in February, is you're going to want to follow up and invite to a class. Then you're going to teach the class or one-on-one. And then, if possible, you're going to try and book a class from every class, so you never really run out then of classes. You're going to then offer wellness consultations, and we'll do a whole training on that, because that is a vital part of the doTERRA business and how we make this business a pipeline rather than hauling buckets. Because it really helps to establish that relationship with the new enrollee, and also helps them to become, a lifelong doTERRA user rather than just a one-off essential oil user. So it helps them to really understand why these oils are so amazing and how they can help them in so many aspects of their life. Okay, and then after that, it's during the wellness consultation, if not before, you'll try and deduce whether they are a user, sharer, or builder. And this will become clear in Nathan's training as well. And then once you've got your builders, so those are the people that also want to do this business with you, then your role will be to continue finding, always continually finding and sharing, but to then balance that with helping and supporting your new business people. And that's often a lot of support at the beginning to get them going, and then it kind of changes more into a partnership where you kind of feed off each other. So that is pretty much the doTERRA business. So for those of you that choose to accept, this is some homework. Each of my trainings are going to have a little bit of homework at the end, and it's up to you whether you do it. It's basically designed to take you through this process of training. So actually take the theory and make it into action, basically. So the things I'm suggesting you do are to buy resource books. You can study the intro, and you don't need to buy both of them at the beginning. So choose the one that you're most drawn to, and just start reading that intro and have a look at some of the elements in there. I really highly recommend you buy The Slight Edge and start reading. And then as you're getting your way through that, then buy GoPro by Eric Worre. And then buy your A to Z booklets and sampling files so that you're all ready to start sampling. Because the next training we're going to be doing with me is sampling. And that's when you're going to really want to start sampling if you haven't already. So that's the equipment you need to sample. And then to learn the key things from doTERRA University. So I challenge you to go onto doTERRA University this week and certainly do the live section. And if you have time, go onto the share and build section as well. And then look at the suggested resources that I showed you. So check out Dr. Axe. Just have a look around at those main resources. I think more than anything, at the beginning, it just gives you confidence that there are other people out there talking about the oils, and it just helps you when you're talking with others to know where there are, good resources that you can send other people to, or look up questions that you might get asked. So that is the end of getting started. So I'm just going to see if I can put up questions. Okay. Might need to be calling Nathan back in a second. Sorry about this. This is the bit I am absolutely rubbish at, is the technology, and I'm just making it worse. Okay, excuse me for 1 second.
Hello, everyone. Maybe stopped him.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. You haven't stopped recording?
No, I haven't yet.